like that old school teacher request that if folks can move towards the front of the room, that's appreciated. Like I don't have to be shouting all the way out. I mean, the mics work pretty well, but still. And I'm going to change the order of the agenda a little bit. We did establish quorum, so that is good. We needed 5 members to have quorum, and we have 8, so that's well over our 10% requirement, so we're set. Like to have more people here, but it is what it is. So approval agenda, I'm switching 2 and 1, obviously, and then I want to add item 3A. Julian, you came up with some name for it, right?
Report from the ICA Research Committee and nomination of new ACE representative.
Okay, so report from the ICA committee and
nomination of new ACE
renomination of our representative, who happens to be Jessica Gordon-Emhart, for those who don't know. So with that, I will take a motion. To make a motion, you have to be an ACE member. So this is self-enforcing. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Okay, and it's been approved. Okay, so the agenda's been approved as amended. Do we have the 2022 minutes? Or do you? Yes. Okay. This is the really exciting stuff. Looking at notes from a year ago. If you don't, I can.
No, we have.
Okay. I can do an audible too. Okay, we're set? Or no, we don't have it?
No, we have them.
Okay. Why don't we go to oh yeah. All running? All right. Is this working? Aha, here we go. I would zoom that like 400% or something, even more if you can. Okay. However much you can zoom it so people can at least potentially read it. You can do like portions so it doesn't all fit on the screen at once. That's much better. Okay. So I guess we should count the people. We have 8 members, and we actually have present for 8, 9, 12, 16, 19. Okay. So 19 people in the room, 8 members. All right. And go down the rest. I'll do improved financial statements. We had candidates that year. This year we did the elections according to our bylaws for a change. So we actually have elections results announced. Anything else? We continue down, I think. All right. Awards. So we did the awards there instead of at the banquet, which is what's going to happen tonight. We can continue, I think. All right, and then I think that was it. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of the 2022 AGM? Okay. So I'll say Gary moved it and Charity seconded, and it's approved by consent. Okay, we did that. Thank you. So definitely the most exciting part of the meeting. So I want to welcome you to the annual general meeting, and we'll have the financial report next in the annual, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the work of the board over the past year. We had a very active board in 2022, 2023, and there's a lot to report on. So I want to start by thanking all the board members, including board officers, Gary Hampton, who's our vice president. Audra Kruger couldn't be here, but has been an excellent secretary. John Park, our treasurer. And we have other board members here, including, of course, Jaime Cuevas, our host in Puerto Rico, and Kate Latour, and Charity Schmidt, Schmidt, sorry, I'll pronounce that right, hopefully, as well as Emily Nail and Hélène Turcot served on the board and unfortunately couldn't be here. We've also greatly benefited from participation of ACE President Kathy Statz, who, even though she moved to Poland, which is a little far from her previous job at the Wisconsin Farmers Union, she still managed to make it to quite a few conference planning meetings, and her historical knowledge was invaluable. So thank you, Kathy. I want to acknowledge that we began in the fall of 2022 with a new ACE administrator to my right here, Josephine Aragnon. And she's done a stellar job of managing grants and organizing the conference logistics, being a liaison between ACE and CCO. At the far right there is Julian Jeremy, who's the executive director of CCO, Cooperative Council of Ontario, I think I got that right, and working with the ACE boards of directors. So Josephine's been a great person to work with, and this conference wouldn't be the conference it is today if it wasn't for Josephine. So let's give her a hand. Other things we did, the main thing that ACE does is the conference, let's be honest about it, but we do other things. Josephine will talk about a grant project we did on ed.coop a little bit later. I'm not going to go into that, but one thing that we did as a board is we actually published a quarterly newsletter, which ACE used to do regularly, but hadn't done it in a while. And some folks from the board, including Gary and Audra, contributed articles to that. I contributed an article or two to that, and so did Josephine. So we tried to have a mix of like administrative stuff and things from the field. If anyone wants to write, we'll probably have a newsletter come out, I don't know, I'm going to guess early September. We haven't really figured that out, so don't cite me on that. But we do want to have a post-institute newsletter come out fairly soon. And if there's anything any of you want to talk about work you're doing in your community that you think the ACE world should know about, we ask for short, like 500 words, but little blurbs about what's going on in the co-op world makes it more interesting if you're reading about your own stuff rather than just, here's the next conference logistics. So please consider doing that. We also put a considerable effort into designing this institute in 2023. We did have a small hybrid conference last year. Some of you were at it in Vancouver. Some of you were online participating. One thing we learned is that hybrid conferences are really, really complicated. So it was a conscious decision not to do hybrid this year, just in case anyone's wondering, that was not an accident. Instead, we've used cameras, so we're trying to record sessions that can be posted later, but that simultaneity just adds so much complexity. So if you want me to regale you with horror stories later, I'm happy to do that. But there's a lot that went behind the scenes to make this institute happen. Again, Josephine deserves the greatest amount of credit, but many board members also played critical roles. This starts, of course, with Jaime Cuevas from Puerto Rico, our host, who invited ACE to Puerto Rico and was our person on the ground dealing with all sorts of different things, fundraising, logistics, and so forth. Helping introduce folks to Josephine so she could execute contracts on things like tour buses that were going on today. We also had an institute committee, and in addition to Josephine, Jaime, and myself, additional members were from the board were Charity, Gary, and Hélène. We also had benefit of a couple people who weren't on the board who also contributed, I guess 3 people really, Tia Evans and Bernardo Peña Herrera from National Cooperative Business Alliance, CLUSA, or Association CLUSA, and Esther West from Shared Capital Cooperative. So thank you, Esther, thank you, Bernardo, thank you, Tia, for next year, we hope to build on these accomplishments, and we're, as you'll see today, we're doing like a very initial sort of scan of the world of co-ops and ACE, and we're asking you to participate in that today to start to do strategic planning. It'll be a year process. I think we'll have sign-up sheets, so if you want to stay involved, please do. We also promise not to overtax you, so you won't get 20 emails from us, I promise. you know, the idea, we want to make this a network that functions between conferences more. One of the things that we're working on is ed.coop. So I don't know, how many people know what ed.coop is? Okay, so half of you do and half of you don't, it looks like. So ed.coop is an educational resource of ACE. It had this challenge, so you know how foundations work. They give you money to start up a website, and then they don't give you money to maintain it. So that's been the central challenge, but we're hoping to make it as accessible to the co-op community as possible so that we can have a common calendar and have, connections between educational resources. The URL is amazing. I mean, like ed.coop, we should be getting 100 or 1,000 people on that site a day. We're not. So interested in any thoughts anyone has on that. We've done some initial steps. We've tried to offer like mini contracts to a couple folks to sort of prime content a little bit, but it's been challenging. It's something that we really want to work on in 2024. So with that, I think I should conclude my remarks, and I will pass the baton to Josephine, who will deliver the annual report and financial statements.
Thank you, Steve. So I will comment the ACE 2022 year of activity, and but I will start first by a short overview of what ACE is for those who are not familiar with it. So, yes. So the organization is basically lives on member contributions and project revenues, such as the Institute and grants. So organization and individual from Canada, the Caribbean, and the United States are part of this organization, members. And in 2022, we had 48 members and 7 partnering sponsors, so for the Institute. So, to the report. Can you do that? Yes. And I will go through the annual report. So as Steve said, we had some changes on the board in 2022. Helen Turcotte and Emily Nail joined the board, and we held a total of 4 meetings in 2022. Cathy Stats stepped down as chair, but she remained a resource person for ACE by taking the role on the role of president emeritus. And we would like to express their special thanks to her for her excellent support and guidance during the transition period. Yes, and I will go over the projects that we had in 2022. So as Steve said, we have this e-learning platform, ed.coop, and I also talked about it yesterday on Camila Pinheiro panel. So this platform is the result of a long journey that began in 2016. So ACE has been able to build a website highlighting co-op learning materials and a place where cooperative learners and educators can connect. So over the years, more than 200 people participated in the building of this site, and you can find learning paths there, and also it links people out to your sites, to original content, so that through this platform we are able to develop a growing community around the resources that you put in place and the job that you are doing on the field. And as we said, so we launched this new learning path in March, because in March 2022 we were awarded a grant by the CHS Foundation in support of the AG Ready program, using technology to educate and prepare students for exciting futures in agriculture co-ops. So we developed a new learning path specifically designed for students and recent graduates in the field of agriculture. And the purpose of this course hosting on ed.coop is to give AG students some information about what cooperative businesses are and what kind of jobs are available for them. So to design this course, we used an innovative approach through artificial intelligence in order to overcome, the usual challenging triad of time to be allocated, available funds, and internal capacity. So our goal was also to start offering, through this course, to start offering asynchronous, stimulating, and innovative content, including some gamification. So this course was launched 2 weeks ago. So if you want to check it on ed.coop, feel free to visit ed.coop for that. So many thanks to the CHS Foundation for their engagement and for their financial support. And then we also hosted our first back in-person and hybrid institute in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, from July 19th to 22nd, after 2 years of virtual ones. So the institute was about sharing our stories and focused on justice, reconciliation, and cooperative education. We had an inspiring and exciting session about EDI in cooperative education, a tour of local co-ops, and our award ceremony. So, and this institute ended on a presentation to reveal our next destination, San Juan, Puerto Rico, where we are right now. And we were really excited to come here as it's a year of celebration on the island. 2023 is the 100th anniversary of the Puerto Rican co-op movement. So on the financial side, sorry. Yes. So on the financial side, we need to consider that 2022 has been a year of recovery and transition post-pandemic, and but the association has had good financial results. And as a reminder, Ace handles US and Canadian dollars, and we have 2 separate bank accounts since I'm based in Canada, and the association is incorporated in Minnesota. So the budget and reports are given in US dollars. And our fiscal year starts on January 1st and ends on December 31st. So our financial statement for 2022, so the total income, you can see it. It's $94,983.38 US dollars, and total expenses are $64,271 and $39. So this left a surplus of $30,712 and $29. And on the income side, membership dues amounted to $3,633.19, and revenues related to the institute to $39,029.34. So for expenses, those related to the administration amounted of $45,000. And part of it is the management contract that we have with the Cooperation Council of Ontario, and also expenses related to our project in the US. So every year, many efforts are made to solicit funding for our projects and to organize the institute. As Steve mentioned it, we are looking for funds to maintain ed.coop. So thank you to our financial partners and sponsors in 2022.
Thank you, Josephine. Next up is Jessica, who's going to give a report on the ICA group and the research group.
Yeah. So you can see I might have earned the honor. Instead of taking it unpaid. Oh, can you all hear me? Okay, great. So, the ICA, you know, is the International Cooperative Alliance. It's our international trade association. The ICA has an official research committee, Committee on Cooperative Research, and each region of the world has a representative. North America has 3 representatives, one from Canada, one from the US, and one from Latin America. And years ago, it was decided that the US rep would come from ACE. And so I've been the rep, I think for 4 years now, something like that. And what the ICA Research Committee has done is we put on a conference every 2 years in conjunction with when the ICA has its World Conference. Also, all the regions have conferences, but on different periods. So this summer, Europe, the Research Committee from Europe had a conference. Can't remember when the Asians had their actually, I think they had their conference in conjunction last year. The ICA was in Seoul. And we had the Asian conference with the international conference. And I can't remember when Latin America had theirs. Canada's rep is the Canadian Association for Studies in Cooperation. So they had their meeting in Toronto this year. And goes on. Africa also participates, not as much, but they do have a rep to the committee. The committee also runs the journal, the Review of International Cooperation, and this year they're putting out actually 2 issues based on the papers that were presented in Seoul last year. There's also an International Young Scholars Program that the ICA Research Group runs. And we're also in the middle of a strategic planning process, trying to figure out what more we can do, how we can put out more reviews of international cooperation, because they only come out, I don't even know what to say, not even annually. They come out when we have materials and people to edit them, so they're trying to figure out a better schedule for that. And the Young Scholars Program is actually probably one of the most vibrant. There's always a day program before the international conference, so that's working out pretty well. And we also just changed chairs of the executive of the committee. For years, it was actually someone from Canada. The last 2 years, it was a guy from Japan, and now it's a woman from Spain. She just came on, so that's the update of what's happening. There is a new movement afoot. The ICA Executive Committee decided that there needs to be an Americas Research Committee. They weren't happy that just different countries in the Americas have a research committee. So now the reps from the ICA Americas are trying to figure out what that means. And so those of us in North America, the Canadians and myself, are in the middle of negotiations. We're also trying to bring in NCBA to try to figure out what the suggestion is, and this is all in process, so there's no decisions yet. Everybody's trying to figure out, so I need my notes. The suggestion is that each country in North America have 2 reps to some huge America's Research Committee. I'm not sure why they want a 48-member committee, but that's what the proposal is right now. So from the US, again, the notion is that ACE would have a rep or would name a rep, and NCBA would name a rep. It's not clear whether it would be the same rep as the one to the International Research Committee, or whether there'd be 2 different reps. So if anybody, I'm trying to think what else is on there. Yeah. So we're trying to figure out, right, whether all that makes sense, how they're going to do it. Nobody's voted on anything yet. There's some negotiations. So if anybody either has any ideas, wants to contribute any ideas, please let me know. I'm meeting in September with the Canadians for us to try to figure out between North America what we suggest should happen, Personally, I can't take on another rep, so if there is a decision that ACE has a rep to this Americas group, we would need to figure out who would be that rep. But right now, that's not in existence yet. It's all part of a strategic plan and a process. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's where we are. And as I said, you don't have to tell me now, but if anyone has ideas, suggestions for what they think should happen with this ICA Americas board, research board, sorry, you can let me know anytime. I think somewhere my email is floating around.
Yeah, or you can also send it to info@ace.coop, and it can get forwarded to Jessica, and just put something like ICA Group Americas in the subject header.
Right. So I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions for me. And then for the International Research Committee, which is the one I'm on, they expect us to elect somebody every 3 years to 3-year terms, and I think we forgot last year
Yeah, so
to either re-elect me or find somebody else. So
thanks for the report. So we actually have 2 votes to take. So you got the financial report and annual report from Josephine. We didn't formally accept it like we're supposed to at an AGM. So could I get a motion to approve the financials as submitted by Josephine? Okay, Jaime, and it looks like a second there from Gary. Okay. Any opposition? Okay, seeing none, they are approved. Now to Jessica's request. Can I have a motion to renew her term for another 3 years?
I accept the motion to renew.
Okay. Again, Jaime and Gary, any objection? Okay, Jessica, the position is yours. All right, next up is board election results, and for that, I'm going to ask Gary, who chaired the nomination committee, to announce the board election results.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? All right. All right, so this year's board election results, I'm just going to go ahead and read what's on the screen here. Elected for a 3-year term, Steve Dubb, Esther J. West, and Pascal Billard. And then elected for a 2-year term is Natalie Callio and Joel Mejia. Almost got it. I tried to get it right before I got up here, so I just wanted to. So welcome everybody to the board, and look forward to working with you. And as Steve said, with ed.coop and ACE and what it looks like going forward. So glad to have you all on board.
So next up is sort of a little bit of strategic planning visioning for ACE, and we want to do this in groups. We had a vision of people being at tables. There are no tables in this room, you may have noticed. So maybe, can we do like 4 groups, like front, my right, your left, front left, back left, front right, and back right. And so if you come into 4 groups, what we're asking folks to do, and we'll give you like 15, 20 minutes, is I actually put together these little charts, so if somebody can be a recorder and a reporter, what are some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats you see for ACE? We'll follow that with some stickies that Charity will send out, will hand out, and sort of what are your brainstorms for what you'd like to see ACE do. This is like a very preliminary first step for what we hope to be, I don't know how it's going to work out, 2024 to 2026 or 2024 to 2027. Ideally, we would have an actual report to present to you. Not too long, because I think the main purpose of a strategic plan isn't the document, but just the process about thinking about your location and ecosystem and where you can be effective. But some ideas about where we want to go as an association. So with that, I'll pass these out, and And there are pens. So we have pens and paper. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Just have some fun with this. We don't expect you to know all the ins and outs of ACE, but we did want to, we thought, here are some fairly basic questions to get a sense of where you see potential overlap or opportunities or things we need to be aware of. There was a request to explain the SMART rule. I wouldn't worry about the SMART rule too much, but specific, measurable. Do I even know what all these things are? Obtainable, time bound. Yeah. And I forget what the R is. Somebody probably knows. Realistic. Well, relevant's better. But but this is like a brainstorm, so I wouldn't censor yourself too much, But yeah, that is what SMART is. We may have to do that, but I don't know if these guys need to do that. I'll keep time. I think we can go at least. I don't know. We'll see how much energy there is, but you can have up to 20 minutes if you need it.